Hey, shalom.
Shalom, y'all.
Yo, this is Black Ice,
And this is the keys.
and welcome to the Bible versus Christianity. This is like our broadcast with like a casual Bible study,
Yeah,
you
yes.
know, and basically what it is, we focus more on biblical doctrine and not Christian doctrine. It's a big difference,
Right,
you
right.
know. So this is more like an in-depth Bible study, and tonight we're going over the Apostle Paul, which we also know as Saul. And for the sake of people maybe listening, I guess for tonight we stick to Apostle Paul because that's the name that people
Yeah,
know.
that's the more familiar one.
Yeah. So and really we want to dive into his life, and what we're going to prove tonight is that he's one of us. He's an Israelite. He's a man of color. He's a black
Right.
man.
And it's interesting because with the apostle Paul, he's one of the biggest. I mean, he when it comes to the New Testament, a lot of New Testament was written by him and his letters and all that. But oftentimes, just like all the other characters in the Bible, we get to see this white man.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Like
show this white man. It's like, okay, so you had a white guy going to the Greeks.
right. Basically, yeah. If you Google Apostle Paul right now, that's all you'll see, a whole bunch of white men.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and it's sad to say, even the black church, they still push the same narrative.
Right. Yeah.
So we're here to prove to you that that he wasn't white at all.
Right.
And it's plenty of scriptures going to show who he is. So we're gonna go into who he was, how he was brought up, and
Right.
and prove how people around him saw as a black man
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off in the book of Acts, and actually you can go to chapter 21, verse 37.
All right. You want to start it off?
Yeah. So just let y'all know, Acts 21 and 37 through 40.
All right. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Art thou not that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar, and lead us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? But Paul said, I am a man which am a Yehudi or a Jew of Tarsus, a city of Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. And when he had given him license, Paul stood on the stairs, and beckoned with the hand unto the people. And when there was made a great silence, he spake unto them in the Hebrew tongue, saying,
Yeah.
as you see, I mean, first off, you see he spoke Hebrew.
Right.
But the interesting thing is the fact that they saw him and thought that he was an Egyptian.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So they thought he was Egyptian. Obviously, thought they're saying he was black.
Right.
Basically.
And some people might try to make the argument of, well, during this time, because around this time, Egypt was already Hellenized.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of Greek people in Egypt.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you were to go to, let's say you were to go in the U.S., you know what I mean? You see somebody speaking Spanish and they speak perfect English.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You'd be like, aren't you a Mexican? But there's white folk over in Mexico.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where, yeah, you might have these Hellenistic or Greek people that were in Egypt, but they know what the natives look like.
Right. They know. Yeah. They know
They
who they
know
are.
what the natives look like, and they were dark-skinned people.
Yeah. Like you say here in verse 37, like, can you thou speak Greek? Like
He was
so
surprised he could speak Greek.
so obviously he didn't think he was Greek.
Now let me
He's
ask
surprised
you.
to speak Greek.
Let me ask you, if you see how like even the Sephardic Jews look, the darker skinned ones, the ones that look more Middle Eastern, you see how they look. Do you think if a Jewish person were to go to Greece right now, do you think they would be surprised if they spoke Greek?
Yeah. They saw these dark skinned people. They're like, oh, you speak Greek?
Right. If a Jewish person were to go to Greece, they wouldn't be surprised because they're white just like them.
Yeah.
And back in ancient times, the Greeks, they might have even looked more swarthy than they do now.
Yeah.
So why would they be surprised if a Jewish person? Why would they be surprised if a Jewish person was speaking Greek if they look like them?
And it's funny because the chief captain, he even more detailed. Like, yo, aren't you that Egyptian that started that riot and led out to wilderness with 4,000 men that were murderers? Like he trying to pinpoint who the guy was. Like,
right, and that must have been a big story during that time.
Right,
Who the heck was that?
Yeah, we had no idea who that was.
Yeah, who was that cat? That sounds like a bad cat.
So he thought he was this black man and he started a rebellion out in the wilderness.
Right.
He thought he was. And that's probably why he treated him what he did. So he's in verse 39, he had to tell him who he was. Like, yo,
Right.
he's like, yeah, I'm a Jew, but I'm also, I'm from here. I'm a citizen here. So to me, that says a lot. And that is one of many examples, because we better go to because another example that we can go to Acts 22. So we're gonna go to Acts 22 and verse 24 to 29.
All right. The chief captain commanded him to be brought into the castle, and bade that he should be examined by scourging, that he might know wherefore they cried so against him. And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is Roman and uncondemned? Ooh.
Spicy.
Yeah, he got his papers. When the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, Take heed that thou what thou does, for this man is a Roman. But they couldn't tell.
Yeah, you can tell.
They couldn't tell. Then the chief captain came and said unto him, Tell me, art thou a Roman? He said, Yeah. And the chief captain answered, With a great sum obtained I this freedom. And Paul said, But I was freeborn.
Yeah.
So not only was he Roman, he was born a free Roman citizen.
Yeah. He was no basic immigrant that paid his way in.
Right. Then straightway they departed from him, which should have examined him. And the chief captain also was afraid. And he knew that he was, after he knew that he was Roman, he was a Roman, and because he had bound him. So because Paul had this Roman citizenship, it was one of those things where he had certain rights that they couldn't take away from him with the citizenship. And it's interesting because for him to be a full-blooded Hebrew Israelite in Rome,
that would made it so special.
Right. And also it's one of those things where because they started scattering us, just like anytime there's an empire that rules, we're gonna be in different parts of the empire. But it's one of those things where they still more likely maintain their culture.
Yeah. I mean, they still knew who they were.
Right.
Like today, we don't know who we are.
Right.
Like say, if you were to go back and break it down, verse 24, he said, "Examine by scourging." So they're about to torture this dude.
Yeah.
And basically beat him, and then verse 25, they bound him. I mean, because these people were wicked, man.
Right. They were going, man. That is so down to the wire. Where they literally bound him up. We're going to beat him. And he was like, whoa, wait. I got my citizenship.
Yeah. Like, he's freaking out, man, because the Romans, they are known for doing some terrible things, man.
That's where the Catholic Church got that kind of torture from, man.
Yeah, they learned from that's where they learned it from. And then you see, they say the centurion, which I guess another word for guard.
Yeah, the centurion was basically kind of like the police.
Yeah.
That was 12 back then.
So he said, Paul said to the centurion that stood by, it's lawful that you scourge a man that's Roman. So he let 12 know, like, yo, man, like, are you right in beating on me and I'm a citizen?
Right.
And so of course the centurion took heed of that, and of course the chief captain in verse 27, he had to ask him this to be sure, like, yo, are you a Roman? And then but he was so surprised because in verse 28, you see here with the chief captain, he said he had to pay for his citizenship. He had to pay a great sum to get it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
that's the chief captain.
The chief captain
said he had to pay for his own freedom, for his citizenship. Paul said he was freeborn, but you notice Paul still spoke Hebrew.
Yeah.
So, and he still would go back because when you remember when Paul was going against those who followed Yeshua?
Mm-hmm.
He was over in what's it called? I'm pretty sure he was over in Israel doing that.
Yeah.
So it goes to show he still moved between those worlds because he had that culture in him.
Yeah.
He still followed that culture even when he grew up in a strange land.
And we want to show some of that background too, because here in verse 29, he said the part of chief captain was afraid because that's when they found out that we in deep trouble because you can't be beating on somebody who have these rights.
Right.
So they know they're effed up, but they just. You can tell they assume, and they probably used to beat on black men so much,
and just like it is now, right?
Yeah.
But man,
this us.
It doesn't change, man.
It doesn't change.
Things haven't changed, and it's one of those things where you might go back a 2,000 years, and be surprised how much it resembles today.
Yeah.
You know, because they're still beating on black men.
Mm-hmm.
They're still treating them this way. And again, and I'm going to keep drilling this point. If a Jewish person were caught in Greece, were caught in Italy, were caught in any of these European countries, would they be so surprised?
Yeah.
Would they assume he's an Egyptian?
And man, in fact, man, it'd be hard for you to be as a black man go to Greece today.
Exactly.
Still dangerous.
Yeah. You heard that story about the brother that got killed?
Yeah. Yep. Hanging out with his right friends. They know where to be found. And they killed that dude, man.
Man, but just goes to show, hey, the Jewish people don't even look like the Arab Egyptians that are there now. So how would that mistake have ever come about?
And we were saying, if you stay in Acts 22 and you just move up the same to verse number 3. That's right here.
I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in this city and at the feet of the Gamaliel, and taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous towards Elohim, as ye all are this day.
So basically, you know, he's break down who he is, his background was like he said. So you know, he was freeborn in Rome. He was still around. He grew up around his people.
Exactly.
But he was born in Tarsus,
and he was taught the word.
Yeah. So he was a Pharisee.
Yeah.
And as you go down and you read verse 6 right here.
And it came to pass that as I made my journey and was come nigh unto Damascus about noon, suddenly there shone from heaven a great light round about me.
My bad.
You done led me astray.
I know, right? My bad, bro. Acts 23 verse 6. My bad.
All right. But when Paul perceived that the one part were Sadducees and the other part Pharisees, he cried out in the council, Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. Of the hope and resurrection of the dead, I am called in question. And when he said, further.
Yeah.
And when he said, when he had so said, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided.
Good. Yeah. So you see right here, man, like he said he was the son of the Pharisee.
Right. But he had Roman citizenship. Goes to show that even though they've been scattering us for a minute, but we still held on to that culture during that time. And
he was so well versed in the word, he knew the splitting point between the Sadducees and the Pharisees.
Right.
Like he knew enough doctrine to know their breaking point of separation.
He said he was a Pharisee, but he also knew the Pharisee of the Sadducees.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure, just like in this day and age where you got these different groups going at it, the same thing back then.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the big political parties going through the day, basically.
Right.
You know? And we go ahead and go even more into his background and go to the Galatians 1.
All right, which verse?
And just read 14.
And profited the Jews religion above many my equals in mine own nation, being more exceedingly zealous of the traditions of my fathers.
Yeah, so it's like even here, so like say he been in it, his own nation. And so basically saying he's a Pharisee. This shows more his background, how he was educated. And if you go more to his background and go to Philippians. I go to Philippians 3. I spelled that R wrong.
Philippines.
I know, right? And 3 and 5.
All right, 3 through 5. All right.
It's 5.
Just 5?
Yep.
Circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee.
You know what I'm saying? I get to read 6 too.
Concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless.
Yeah. So he was circumcised on the 8th day. Yeah. I mean, like he lived within his culture.
And mind you, he was circumcised on the 8th day. This more likely occurred even though Israel was a part of the Roman Empire, this was probably over in Sicily.
Yeah.
He was still over there in the land of which he was born.
Yeah.
But they still had the Pharisees, they still had those traditions that they were following.
Yeah. It was like we don't follow today. Our people don't follow today.
Right.
Like so they stripped away their identity when we came over here. But they still knew who they were. And like it is today, they probably live in their own separate neighborhoods.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we live in a black neighborhood here, they probably had like a Jewish neighborhood.
Right.
There.
Or
Israelite neighborhood, rather.
Yeah. Israelite. Definitely not Jewish.
Yeah, not Jewish, but yeah, it's an Israelite neighborhood. So So they knew who he were. And he knew what tribe he came from. He knew he came from the tribe of Benjamin. So he knew exactly where he came from. And so we got some more. I know we kind of shoot through the scripture here, but we just wanted to break down all the biblical proof of who he was. And he wasn't just a Pharisee; he also had skills. He had a day job, basically.
Right.
So if you go to Acts 18 and 1-3.
After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth, and found a certain Yehudi or Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome, and came unto them. So I mean, it goes to show they had a community over in that area, and they knew each other. They followed the tradition of their fathers, and because he was of the same craft, he abode with them and wrought. For by their occupation they were tent makers. Yeah. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks.
Yeah, so that dude still had a day job, man. He still had a craft. You know what I mean? So he still had a way to provide for himself.
Right.
So like these days, you have a lot of people that talking, and they ain't doing anything else, man. But he's about his business, man.
Right.
So I mean, like you say, he had a culture, he had a life, and everything.
And it's interesting, man. Them being so united in this really strange land, it really might be one of those things where the oppression kept them together. You know, the same way they had segregation. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where those societal pressures, they didn't want them getting out.
You go to Acts, back to Acts 22, 25-28.
All right. And as they bound...
Oh, my bad. That's the same one you just read.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so Paul, like I said, he's an Israelite. We know that, right?
Right.
And oftentimes, you look up the Apostle Paul from a Christianity standpoint, they make it seem like he was the founder of Christianity of modern day Christianity.
Right.
But he didn't.
Man.
Like he didn't take part in Easter and Christmas, Halloween, and all the other foolishness that Christian doctrine would do today.
They didn't have no Easter egg hunt or none of that.
None of that. He still followed the holy days. He still observed the holy days.
The holy days from Leviticus and the days of Moses.
Right. So
it goes to show that these things aren't done away with.
Right. They said this. And mind you, when Paul came, there was years after Yeshua left.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't like during that same time he was walking around.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So these years later, that the Christians claim that the law already died on, quote unquote, died on the cross.
This was after Yeshua's death and resurrection.
Right. So he was still following the law. So if you go back to Acts 2, it shows that with Pentecost, it's 2 in 1.
All right, 2 in 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, there were all with one accord in one place.
All right, so one thing the Christian church do celebrate Pentecost,
right?
But they under the impression that the Pentecost is like a New Testament thing, which is not.
No.
The Pentecost is from the Old Testament, called the Feast of Weeks.
Right.
And Penta, like I said, everywhere has a meaning. So Penta means 50.
Right.
So you go look at the Feast of Weeks in Leviticus. It says 7 times 7 Sabbaths plus a day.
Right.
So it always going to fall like on Saturday night, Sunday.
Exactly. And it's actually counting. You have to know the feast days and the Sabbaths in order to actually keep Pentecost correctly.
It's amazing how they know the exact day what Pentecost is, but they don't teach the Christian pastor won't teach the congregation how they got to that date.
But don't they have to learn it? They must learn it in those Christian
seminaries,
churches,
and theology schools.
Right.
So they know about these feast days. Like they know how to count.
But they know how to keep the sheep stagnant.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They bind them with religion.
Yeah.
They keep them. They use the Bible for their own purposes.
Right. Yeah. Cause I mean, just imagine you telling everybody that the law died on the cross, but you got to use the law to find out when Pentecost is.
And that's something.
So that's
something.
So that's why the pastor's not going to teach you when Pentecost ever is.
And that's the thing. People were going to get in the law when it's convenient to them. You know, because I mean, look at the pastor.
Yeah,
he's going to talk about law nailed to the cross, but you still got to give your tithings.
Yeah, like Pentecost, we got to get that offering.
Yeah. So
they made sure they deserve that Pentecost.
Exactly.
Because they get money on that day.
So you can offer to the church and invest in his Cadillac.
Yeah, right. And we're not go too deep into this. Like I said, we basically want to focus on Paul himself. But you know, this is a chapter where they come into the whole speaking in tongues thing,
Right.
and that the Christian church does, and that's not a biblical concept.
Because the Jews or the Yehudi were spread about these different areas, and especially parts of the Roman Empire.
Right.
You know, it's one of those things where they spoke these different tongues,
Right.
languages. So they weren't just you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, they weren't sounding like Twister.
Yeah, they wouldn't run around in the walls.
Exactly. You know,
babbling.
And doing handstands and catching the Holy Ghost and leaping into each other. No.
And that would make Pentecostal special because they each were talking their own language and yet they understood each other.
Right.
In their own language.
Man, and it was like, how did that even work?
Yeah, right.
We don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a miracle.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like all things can't be explained. You know, it's like sometimes people ask me like, these wild questions. Or like say, or do I believe in aliens and stuff like that, man? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I like that's below my pay grade. Is something else out there? Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
But that's not my concern. That's not a salvation issue for me.
Exactly. You don't gotta explain everything.
Yeah, I don't explain everything.
The main thing is knowing Yah and His Word.
That's
really the main thing.
That's it.
You can figure all that out in the kingdom.
Right. Basically. Like it's a big concern for me.
Right.
You know, but you go back and read, if you really read through Acts 2 and it is something you want us to go through with you, just let us know in the comments that something can't go through about the speaking of tongues.
Right.
But we can actually prove through this chapter that they wasn't just speaking gibberish. They were actually speaking actual languages.
Right.
And they understood each other. So that's another false Christian doctrine that's taught in the church, in a lot of different churches.
Right.
You know, and I tell you these things because I grew up in the Christian church, man, and I remember going to a church. This is like early my adulthood. I get to my early 20s, but I remember going to this church in Atlanta. I'm not gonna say their name, and I remember the pastor said, "If you never spoke in tongues before, I'm going to teach you."
What?
And right then, like, and before I really got into the truth, man, but even I knew that there was something off about when he said that, And this is a very popular church, like. It was a very popular church in Atlanta. I mean, it wasn't a mega church, but it was it was like one of those quote unquote hip churches, contemporary Christian churches.
Right.
And but I knew then something was kind of off about it. But now reading back through for myself and reading with understanding, that was just what he was saying. It was gibberish. That was BS.
Yeah. I'm going to teach you.
Yeah. But right. But if you go to Leviticus, go to the Old Testament here, Leviticus 23. I mean, we won't have to read through it. I just want to show you the reference point,
right?
For the sake of time. But Leviticus 23 verse 15 to 21. This is Pentecost,
right?
Even say here, even until the morrow after the seventh Sabbath even unto the morrow after the seventh Sabbath shall ye number 50 days,
right? And
ye shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh. So here it's telling you what day it is. This is Pentecost. Pentecost stands for 50.
And to even give some more context, they kept Pentecost, but they didn't have to offer an offering because Yahshua, Christ, was that perfect offering.
Right.
So he did away with sacrifice.
Right.
With animal sacrifice, but they still had to keep the feast day.
Right. So this is proving that you still follow the holy days. And it's funny because like people are quick. People are quick to say, like I talked to like an old Christian guy. He's like, oh yeah, Jesus died for us, and Christians about him, and they try to justify twisting the holiday.
Right.
And like you can't twist a holiday, and that don't for him. So it's like if you really love him and want to obey him,
right? Why
don't you do these holidays? Why you had to change these other days?
He said, "I came to do the will of my Father."
Right.
So why would he come? And die on the cross in order to go against his Father.
Right.
That makes no sense.
It makes no sense at all. So, but if we show you another scripture here, you go to Acts 20. You go to Acts 20 and read verse 6.
Verse 6. And we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came unto them in Troas in 5 days, where we abode 7 days.
All right, so you hear this was mentioning that. I mean, they're still observing the law.
Unleavened bread.
Right. Like he said though. Oh,
this is in Acts.
Right, and this is the book of Acts. This is Acts 20 here. This is years after the death and resurrection of Yeshua.
Right.
So he's celebrating these things. So we got another example. You go to First Corinthians 5. All right, and you read 6 through 8.
Your glory is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us. Therefore let us keep the feast.
Let us keep the feast.
Exactly. Let us, and because it's this is something. Isn't this in the Old Testament as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
The little leaven leaveneth the whole lump.
Yep.
Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with the old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth.
Yo, man. Like this right here, 1 Corinthians 5.
Man, and he's still talking about unleavened bread, which was a feast from the Torah, from the first 5 books.
Yeah. Like you can't say, oh, yeah, Christ died on the cross for this and we have to follow these laws anymore. No, right. The law still exists. I mean, we've proven it to you right here in the New Testament. You don't have to show your Old Testament. We show you New Testament scriptures here.
Right. We just went in Leviticus to show the reference, but you see how much the feast days keep coming up in the New Testament.
Right. Then right here we in Colossians 2, and just read this verse 16.
Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of an holy day or of the new moon or of the Sabbath days.
Yeah. Excuse me. So of course, Paul was he's mingling with pagan society.
Right.
And you tell them like, yo, don't be concerned with these people judging you for what you're doing. Exactly. You take yourself aside, you live a different lifestyle.
Because think about it, during this time, they still were believing in the Roman gods. You know what I mean? Or maybe it was a mix between the Romans and the Greeks. It really depended where you were. Yeah. But they still believed in they were still polytheistic.
Yeah. So they show you like he was trying to. We feel like that today. You know what I'm saying? Like we live in society. Everybody want to blend in with each other. Don't want to offend nobody or make everything all inclusive. No, if you want to be special, we can't act like how everybody else is acting.
Right. And what's interesting, man, like, of course, it's already hard when you turn away from Christianity to become a Hebrew Israelite and your family turns against you. Imagine you were a pagan. Imagine you believed in a pantheon of gods, and they're like, wait, just one? Right. Just one? That's like one potato chip. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're like, why not 80?
Right.
Just one?
Right. And they had no idea. You know what I mean? So and then you gonna feel like that going through our wall. I would probably go to Ezekiel, but that's for the Millennial Kingdom. I guess we could say that for a different Bible study. Millennial Kingdom. But basically, we just want to prove to you real quick that the Apostle Paul, Saul was a black man.
Yeah.
They had Roman citizenship, and Yahweh was able to use him to preach the gospels to your Gentiles.
Exactly. And because he had that citizenship.
He had that citizenship, man.
Right.
And basically, man, his missionary trip was down there, government sponsored, because he was a prisoner. They was escorting him to Rome. You know what I mean? So every place they went to, he was spreading the word.
Exactly.
And putting these churches together. So, man. So you look up the Apostle Paul, you see that white man. Like, no, he wasn't a white man.
Right. Because if he was a white man, if he looked like the Greeks, if he looked like the Romans, then why did they think he was an Egyptian?
Right. Why they about to beat him like an Egyptian?
Right.
Why they stripped him down, about to torture him like an Egyptian?
And it's another clue as to what the ancient Hebrews looked like, because they liken them onto an Egyptian. Now, what Jewish person can you show me that even looks like a modern? Let's even give the benefit of the doubt and use the Arab Egyptians. Yeah. Which one of them even looks like an Arab Egyptian? Yeah. Much less the actual native Egyptians who used to be in that land.
Yeah, they can't, man.
You can't fabricate that, man.
Yeah, man. So that's all we want to do, man. We just keep it short and to the point. If you want to show you, and that's what we want to do with the show, we're going to give a reference, because it's too easy to go to a Christian church and they sit here and make you feel good, and they sprinkle good words to you, but they can't show you in a book. And we show you actual scriptures of these things, so we're not just talking outside of our neck.
Right.
But any other topics you'd like us to cover, you have any questions, leave a comment. Definitely like and share our video. Like I say, this is something we're doing once a week, on top of the Black Narrative.
Right.
And but I appreciate you taking time to listen to us. And anything else like that?
Stay vigilant and stay in your books, man.
All right, man. I got shalom.
Shalom.